I stood on the threshold of our house, the place that had been a sanctuary for my heart and soul, when I heard the sound that would shatter my world. Laughter. But not just any laughter. The unmistakable, intimate laughter of my wife Jessica and my best friend Mark. It drifted down from our bedroom, a place that was supposed to be sacred. My blood ran cold as I slowly climbed the stairs, each step heavy with dread and disbelief. When I pushed open the bedroom door, the sight that met my eyes was one I would never forget. There they were, tangled in the sheets, their faces frozen in shock as they noticed me standing there. Jessica's eyes widened, and tears immediately welled up, spilling down her cheeks. Mark looked like a deer caught in the headlights, his face pale and trembling. "How could you?" I choked out, my voice barely more than a whisper. "How long has this been going on?" Jessica scrambled to cover herself, stammering, "It's not what it looks like, John. Please, let me explain." But I couldn't hear her anymore. The pain and betrayal were too overwhelming. I grabbed Mark by the collar and dragged him out of the room, down the stairs and out the front door. Once outside, I shoved him against the wall, my fists clenched at my sides. "How long?" I demanded, my voice shaking with rage. Mark swallowed hard, avoiding my gaze. "2 years," he muttered, barely audible. 2 years. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My best friend and my wife had been betraying me for 2 years, and I had been blissfully unaware. As the reality of the situation settled in, I felt a cold, hard resolve take root in my heart. This wasn't just about Jessica and Mark anymore. It was about everyone who had known and kept this secret from me. As I looked at Mark, the anger gave way to something colder, more calculated. "Get out of my sight," I said quietly, "and don't ever come near me or my family again." He stumbled away, his face etched with guilt and fear. I watched him go, then turned back to the house. Jessica was waiting in the living room, her face streaked with tears, pleading eyes searching mine for any sign of forgiveness. "I'm so sorry, John. Please, we can work through this," she sobbed, reaching out for me. I took a step back, avoiding her touch. "We're done, Jessica. I want a divorce." Her face crumpled, and she fell to her knees, begging for another chance. But I had already made up my mind. The love I once felt for her was buried under the weight of her betrayal. In the days that followed, the extent of the deception became painfully clear. Not only had Mark and Jessica been unfaithful, but several of our mutual friends had known and kept it from me. Even our parents, in a misguided attempt to preserve the family, had chosen to stay silent. The final blow came when I decided to have a paternity test done for our children, Taylor and Oliver. The results confirmed my worst fears. They weren't mine. My world crumbled around me, but amid the devastation, a plan for revenge began to form. I would not let them get away with this. Jessica, Mark, our so-called friends, and even our families, they would all pay for their betrayal, and I would make sure of it. The shock of discovering Jessica and Mark's betrayal was still fresh as I sat across from Jessica at our kitchen table. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, and she looked at me with a mixture of guilt and desperation. I remained silent, the weight of the truth pressing down on me like a heavy stone. I could see her lips moving, but the words were just a blur. "Please, John," she was saying. "I never meant for it to go this far. I love you." "Love?" I snapped, my voice finally breaking through the silence. "Is that what you call sneaking around with my best friend for 2 years? Is that what you call lying to my face every single day?" Tears streamed down her face as she tried to reach for my hand. I pulled away, unable to bear her touch. The anger that simmered within me was only kept in check by the need to understand the full extent of the betrayal. "Tell me everything," I demanded. "I want to know how it started, how long it's been going on, and who else knows." Jessica hesitated, then took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "It started 2 years ago, shortly after your promotion. Mark and I were both feeling neglected, and we just connected. It was a mistake, John, a terrible mistake." "A mistake that lasted 2 years," I said bitterly. "And what about our friends, our families? Did they know?" She nodded, her head bowed in shame. "Some of them. I think they wanted to protect you, to protect our family." "Protect me?" I laughed, a harsh, hollow sound. "By lying to me? By letting this go on right under my nose?" I stood up abruptly, unable to sit still any longer. The walls of the kitchen felt like they were closing in on me. "You need to leave," I said, my voice cold and final. "Pack your things and go. I can't look at you right now." Jessica sobbed as she stumbled to her feet and made her way upstairs to pack. I watched her go, my heart hardening with each step she took. When she was out of sight, I sank back into my chair, the enormity of what had happened crashing over me. My phone buzzed on the table, and I saw that it was Mark calling. I ignored it, not ready to deal with him yet. Instead, I focused on the task at hand, finding out who else had betrayed me and planning my next move. The next day, I met with a private investigator, determined to uncover the full extent of the deception. As I laid out my suspicions and the facts I had gathered so far, the investigator nodded thoughtfully. "I'll get to work right away," he assured me. "We'll find out who else was involved and make sure you have all the information you need." With that settled, I turned my attention to our friends and families. I arranged a series of meetings, one by one, to confront them about what they knew and why they had kept it from me. First was my best friend, Tom. We met at a local coffee shop, and as soon as I brought up Jessica and Mark, his face went pale. "I didn't know how to tell you, John," he stammered. "I thought it was just a fling, that it would end soon. I didn't want to hurt you." "Well, you did," I replied sharply. "You hurt me by keeping it a secret, by letting me live a lie." Next was our mutual friend Lisa. Her reaction was similar: guilt, regret, and a litany of excuses. "I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid of what it would do to our friendship," she said, tears in her eyes. "Some friend you turned out to be," I muttered, feeling the sting of each betrayal anew. The hardest confrontation was with my parents. Sitting in their living room, I could see the pain and sorrow in their eyes as they admitted they had known about the affair. "We thought we were doing the right thing," my mother said softly. "We didn't want to destroy your family." "You destroyed it by not telling me the truth," I said, my voice breaking. "How could you keep something like this from me?" With each confrontation, the anger and hurt inside me grew, but so did my resolve. Jessica, Mark, our so-called friends, and even our families, they had all betrayed me. But I wouldn't let them get away with it. They would pay for what they had done, and I would make sure of it. As I sat alone in the house that evening, I began to formulate my plan. It would be a plan of meticulous revenge, hitting them where it hurt the most. Jessica and Mark had taken everything from me, but I would take it all back, and then some. And when I was done, they would know the true meaning of betrayal. The days following the confrontations were a blur of anger and sorrow. Each revelation cut deeper than the last, but the final blow was yet to come. Amid the turmoil, a chilling thought took root in my mind. What if Taylor and Oliver weren't my children? The possibility gnawed at me, keeping me awake at night. One morning, I couldn't stand the uncertainty any longer. I called my lawyer and arranged for a paternity test. The wait for the results was excruciating. Every moment I spent with the children felt like a cruel joke, a reminder of the life I thought I had. When the day finally came, I picked up the envelope from the clinic and drove to a secluded park. My hands trembled as I tore it open, my heart pounding in my chest. The words on the page blurred as tears filled my eyes. Probability of paternity, 0%. I sank onto a bench, the world spinning around me. Taylor and Oliver, the children I had raised and loved, weren't mine. The betrayal was complete. Jessica had not only deceived me, but had also taken away the most precious part of my life. I felt a cold, calculated resolve harden within me. It was time to act. I returned home, my mind racing with plans. Jessica was still staying with her parents, giving me the space I needed. I called my lawyer and started the process of filing for divorce, citing her infidelity and the paternity results as evidence. I wanted full custody of the children, even though they weren't biologically mine. They were innocent in all of this, and I couldn't bear the thought of them being with her. Next, I contacted a financial advisor. I needed to ensure that Jessica wouldn't walk away with a single cent more than she deserved. We started transferring funds, closing joint accounts, and setting up safeguards to protect my assets. The house, our investments, everything was being restructured to cut her out. As the legal and financial preparations were underway, I focused on dismantling Jessica's life. I gathered all the evidence of her affair, texts, emails, photos, and prepared a dossier. I sent it anonymously to her boss. Within days, Jessica was called into a meeting and let go from her job for violating the company's code of conduct. The humiliation she faced at work was only the beginning. I wasn't done yet. I started spreading rumors within our social circle, hinting at her infidelity and the deceit. Our friends, those who had stood by silently, began to see her in a new light. Her reputation was tarnished, and she found herself increasingly isolated. One evening, I invited my parents over. The tension was palpable as they sat in the living room, their faces etched with worry. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice steady but filled with pain. "We thought we were protecting you," my mother replied, tears in her eyes. "We didn't want to destroy your family." "You did destroy it," I said quietly. "By keeping the truth from me, you allowed this to happen." My father tried to speak, but I held up a hand. "I need you to leave. I need space to think and figure out what comes next." They left, their shoulders slumped, and I felt a pang of guilt. But I couldn't let that soften my resolve. This was about survival, about reclaiming my life from the ashes of betrayal. Days turned into weeks as I methodically dismantled the life Jessica had built on lies. The divorce proceedings were swift and ruthless. My lawyer, armed with the evidence, ensured that I got everything I asked for. Jessica was left with nothing but the clothes on her back and the knowledge of what she had lost. Finally, the day came when I stood before the judge, the paternity results and evidence of infidelity laid out clearly. The judge ruled in my favor, granting me full custody of Taylor and Oliver. Jessica's visitation rights were limited and supervised, ensuring she couldn't manipulate the children against me. As I walked out of the courthouse, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. The path ahead was uncertain, but I knew one thing for sure. I would rebuild my life, stronger and wiser. Jessica, Mark, and all those who had betrayed me were left in the ruins of their own making, and I would make sure they never forgot the consequences of their actions. With the divorce finalized and custody secured, I began to rebuild the pieces of my shattered life. Yet the wounds of betrayal were far from healed, and the quest for truth was far from over. There were still loose ends, still secrets that needed to be brought to light. One afternoon, while sorting through old documents in the attic, I stumbled upon an old journal of Jessica's. Flipping through its pages, I discovered entries that detailed not just her affair with Mark, but hinted at other indiscretions and deeper deceptions. My anger rekindled, and I knew I needed to dig deeper. I called the private investigator once more, asking him to delve into Jessica's past. I wanted to know every secret she had kept from me. Meanwhile, I began to reach out to people I had distanced myself from, trying to uncover the extent of the betrayal. One evening, I met with Lisa, who had been one of Jessica's closest friends. We sat in a dimly lit cafe, the air thick with tension. "John, I'm so sorry for everything," Lisa began, her eyes avoiding mine. "Sorry doesn't cut it, Lisa. I need answers," I replied sharply. "What else has she been hiding from me?" Lisa sighed, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "There were rumors about other affairs. I never wanted to believe them, but after everything, I'm not sure anymore." Her words confirmed my suspicions, adding fuel to the fire of my resolve. I needed concrete evidence, not just rumors. The private investigator's findings soon provided that. Jessica had been involved with several other men over the years, using her charm and deceit to manipulate and betray. With each new piece of information, my anger grew, but so did my clarity. Jessica's betrayal wasn't just a personal affront, it was a pattern, a web of lies that ensnared everyone around her. I realized that my revenge wouldn't be complete until I exposed her for who she truly was. I began by gathering all the evidence and meticulously organizing it into a comprehensive dossier. Photos, messages, financial records, everything was documented. I then started leaking bits of information to key people in our community. Her friends, colleagues, and family began to see the real Jessica, the one who had hidden behind a mask of deceit for so long. One evening, I confronted Jessica's parents. We met at a local restaurant, and as we sat down, I could see the apprehension in their eyes. "John, what's this about?" her father asked, his voice strained. "It's about the truth," I replied, sliding the dossier across the table. "I thought you should know who your daughter is." They flipped through the pages, their faces growing paler with each passing moment. Jessica's mother began to cry, while her father sat in stunned silence. "We had no idea," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. We thought we were protecting our family." "Your silence only helped her continue her lies," I said coldly. "Now everyone will know the truth." The fallout was swift and brutal. Jessica's reputation was in tatters, her relationships in ruins. She lost her job, her friends, and the respect of her family. Everywhere she turned, there was judgment and scorn. It was the price she had to pay for her years of deceit. But my revenge wasn't just about destroying Jessica. It was about reclaiming my life and ensuring that those who had stood by silently learned their lesson. I reached out to those friends who had known about the affair and confronted them one by one. Tom, my best friend, was the hardest to face. We met at a bar we used to frequent, the air thick with unspoken words. "Why, Tom?" I asked, my voice raw with emotion. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought I was protecting you," he said, tears in his eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you more than you were already hurting." "You did hurt me," I replied, my voice steady. "But I need to move forward, and I need to know who I can trust." As the days turned into weeks, I slowly began to rebuild my trust in others. I forged new friendships and strengthened my bond with Taylor and Oliver. They were my rock, my reason to keep going. Through therapy and self-reflection, I started to heal. The pain of betrayal never fully disappeared, but it no longer defined me. I was determined to create a better future for myself and my children. Jessica's life continued to unravel, but I no longer watched with satisfaction. My revenge was complete, and it was time to focus on the positives. I had reclaimed my life from the ashes, and now it was time to rise anew. With a renewed sense of purpose, I threw myself into my work, my hobbies, and most importantly, being a father to Taylor and Oliver. Together, we began to build a new life, one founded on trust, honesty, and love. The taste of revenge was bittersweet. I had dismantled Jessica's life and exposed her lies, but the satisfaction only lasted so long. Now it was time to secure my future and ensure that she couldn't rise from the ruins I had created. The financial advisor I had hired was a sharp, meticulous woman named Rachel. Together, we meticulously worked through every financial detail, leaving no stone unturned. I transferred all joint assets to my name, ensuring that Jessica had no legal claim. It was a complex process, but with Rachel's expertise, we moved quickly and efficiently. One afternoon, as we were finalizing the last of the transfers, Rachel looked at me thoughtfully. "John, have you considered the long-term implications of this? Securing your financial future is important, but what about your emotional well-being?" Her words struck a chord. I had been so focused on revenge and securing my assets that I hadn't thought about the toll it was taking on me. I nodded slowly, appreciating her concern but knowing I couldn't stop now. I had to see this through to the end. The next step was to confront Jessica about the financial situation. I arranged to meet her at a neutral location, a quiet cafe where we could talk without causing a scene. When she arrived, she looked defeated, a shadow of the woman I once knew. "Why are we here, John?" she asked, her voice weary. "I wanted to discuss our finances," I replied, sliding a stack of documents across the table. "I've transferred all our joint assets into my name. You have no claim to anything." She looked through the papers, her face pale. "You can't do this. I have rights." "You lost those rights when you betrayed me," I said coldly. "You're lucky I'm not leaving you with nothing." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but I felt no pity. She had brought this upon herself. I stood up, ready to leave. "I suggest you find a job and start over. This is the last time we'll speak about finances." As I walked away, I felt a sense of finality. Jessica's financial ruin was complete, and now I could focus on rebuilding my own life. But there was still one more aspect of my plan that needed attention, ensuring she couldn't manipulate the children against me. I hired a child psychologist to work with Taylor and Oliver, helping them understand the situation in a way that wouldn't harm their emotional well-being. The sessions were difficult at first, but gradually they began to open up and express their feelings. One evening, after a particularly emotional session, Taylor came to me with tears in her eyes. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" I hugged her tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Yes, sweetheart, we're going to be just fine, I promise." Oliver, too young to fully grasp the situation, still sensed the tension. I made a conscious effort to spend more time with him, playing games and reading stories, creating a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. As the months passed, I saw a change in the children. They were happier and more confident, and our bond grew stronger each day. The psychologist's sessions were helping, and I knew I was doing the right thing by protecting them from Jessica's toxic influence. With the financial and emotional aspects of my life stabilized, I began to focus on my career. I poured my energy into my work, climbing the corporate ladder and securing a promotion. The success was a welcome distraction, and it provided the stability my family needed. Jessica, meanwhile, struggled to find her footing. Her tarnished reputation made it difficult for her to find employment, and she eventually had to move back in with her parents. I heard through the grapevine that she was trying to rebuild her life, but I paid it no mind. My concern was for Taylor and Oliver, and ensuring they had a bright future. One day I received a call from Rachel. "John, I've been reviewing your financial portfolio, and I have some investment opportunities that could significantly boost your assets. Would you be interested?" I agreed, and together we made strategic investments that paid off handsomely. My financial future was secure, and I knew I had made the right choices. As the years passed, the wounds of betrayal began to heal. I found peace in my new life, surrounded by people I could trust and love. Jessica's betrayal changed me, but it also made me stronger and more resilient. And as I watched Taylor and Oliver grow into wonderful, compassionate individuals, I knew that I had done the right thing. The path to revenge had been dark and difficult, but in the end, it led to a brighter, more hopeful future for us all. With Jessica financially ruined and my children's future secured, I turned my attention to the social circles that had once been ours. Our friends and colleagues had played their parts, either as silent accomplices or passive observers, and I intended to make them face the consequences of their actions. First, I reached out to the friends who had known about the affair, but chose to keep it from me. I started with Amy, a close friend who had always been part of our social gatherings. We met at a quiet park, where the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of children playing in the distance. "Amy," I began, my tone even but firm, "I need to know why you didn't tell me about Jessica and Mark." She looked down, her face flushed with guilt. "John, I wanted to, but I was scared. I didn't want to be the one to break your heart." "Your silence broke it just as much," I replied, my voice hardening. "You had a responsibility as a friend." Amy's eyes welled up with tears. "I'm so sorry, John. I wish I had been braver." "I appreciate your apology," I said, standing up. "But I need more than words. I need to know who else knew and chose to stay silent." Over the next few weeks, I had similar conversations with others in our circle. Each encounter followed the same pattern: denial, guilt, and eventual confession. The web of deceit was more extensive than I had imagined. Many of our friends had known or suspected the affair, but had chosen to protect Jessica, thinking it would preserve the family. Once I had gathered enough information, I began to strategically spread the truth. I compiled evidence, including messages and photos, and started sending anonymous tips to key figures in our social and professional networks. The fallout was immediate and severe. Jessica's remaining friends distanced themselves from her, unwilling to be associated with her deceit. Her social standing crumbled, leaving her isolated and alone. But I didn't stop there. I wanted to ensure that Jessica couldn't rebuild her life by relying on the sympathy or support of others. I contacted her new acquaintances and colleagues, subtly hinting at her past indiscretions. Gossip spread like wildfire, and soon Jessica found herself ostracized wherever she went. One evening, I received a call from Jessica. Her voice was a mixture of desperation and anger. "John, why are you doing this to me? Haven't you done enough?" "You brought this upon yourself, Jessica," I replied coldly. "I'm simply making sure everyone knows the truth." "You're ruining my life," she sobbed. "No, Jessica, you ruined it. I'm just making sure you can't do the same to anyone else." As I hung up, I felt a grim satisfaction. Jessica's social isolation was complete, but there was still one more group of people who needed to face the consequences: our families. I arranged a family meeting at my parents' house. The tension was palpable as we gathered in the living room. My parents, Jessica's parents, and even a few extended family members were present. Jessica sat at the center looking defeated and worn. "I called this meeting to address the lies and deceit that have been kept from me," I began, my voice steady. "For years, many of you knew about Jessica's affairs and chose to stay silent." My mother started to speak, but I held up a hand to stop her. No more excuses. Your silence allowed this betrayal to continue. And now, it's time to face the consequences. I laid out the evidence, showing them the extent of Jessica's deceit and the complicity of those who knew. The room was silent, the weight of the revelations sinking in. I expected better from all of you, I continued. But now, I need to protect myself and my children. We will be moving away, starting fresh. And I expect each of you to respect that decision and give us the space we need. Jessica's parents looked devastated, while mine were filled with regret. But I had made up my mind. It was time to cut ties and move forward. In the weeks that followed, I finalized our plans to move to a new city. The children were initially hesitant, but I reassured them that it was for the best. We needed a fresh start, away from the pain and betrayal that had defined our lives for too long. As we packed our belongings, I felt a sense of closure. The manipulations, the lies, the betrayals, they were all behind us now. We were moving towards a future where we could heal and grow, free from the shadows of the past. The day we left, I took one last look at the house that had been our home. It was a place of many memories, both good and bad. But now, it was time to create new memories, in a new place, where we could truly begin again. With Taylor and Oliver by my side, I drove away, leaving behind the remnants of our old life. We were ready to face the future, stronger and more united than ever before. The move to a new city brought a sense of relief, but the journey was far from over. The legal battle for custody of Taylor and Oliver was a war that Jessica was determined to fight. Despite her tarnished reputation and the mountain of evidence against her, she hired an aggressive lawyer and prepared to challenge me in court. I knew I needed the best representation possible, so I retained Rachel's law firm to handle the case. They had been instrumental in securing my financial stability, and I trusted them to protect my children's future. The courtroom was a cold, intimidating place. As I sat at the plaintiff's table, I glanced over at Jessica. She looked defiant, her lawyer whispering strategies in her ear. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. Jessica's lawyer started with an emotional plea, painting her as a loving mother who had made mistakes but deserved a chance to be with her children. He portrayed me as vindictive, using the children as pawns in a cruel game of revenge. It was a clever strategy, and I could see the judge's interest piqued. When it was our turn, my lawyer presented the evidence meticulously. Photos, texts, testimonies from friends and colleagues, all laid bare Jessica's pattern of deceit and manipulation. The judge's expression grew stern as the details unfolded. My lawyer then called the child psychologist to the stand. She testified about the impact of Jessica's actions on Taylor and Oliver, emphasizing the stability and support they found in my care. Her words were powerful, cutting through the emotional fog that Jessica's lawyer had tried to create. During my testimony, I spoke from the heart. I described my love for Taylor and Oliver, my commitment to providing them with a safe and nurturing environment, and the pain of discovering Jessica's betrayals. The courtroom was silent, each word hanging heavily in the air. Jessica took the stand next. Her lawyer had coached her well, but the cracks in her facade were evident. She stumbled over details, contradicted herself, and occasionally let her frustration show. It was clear to everyone that her primary motivation was not the well-being of the children, but rather a desire to regain control. After days of intense testimony and cross-examinations, the judge finally called for a recess to deliberate. The tension in the room was palpable as we waited for the decision. When the judge returned, her expression was unreadable. She began by summarizing the case, acknowledging the emotional weight on both sides. Then she delivered her verdict. Full custody was awarded to me with Jessica, granted supervised visitation rights. Jessica erupted in protest, but the judge silenced her with a stern look. "This court's primary concern is the welfare of the children," she said firmly. "Mr. Johnson has demonstrated a stable and supportive environment. Mrs. Johnson, your actions have shown a disregard for the children's emotional well-being." Jessica's face crumpled as reality sank in. Her lawyer tried to comfort her, but it was clear they had lost. I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Despite everything, I had once loved Jessica, and seeing her like this was painful. As we left the courthouse, Taylor and Oliver ran to me, their faces lit with smiles. They didn't fully understand the proceedings, but they sensed the victory. I hugged them tightly, whispering promises of a brighter future. The legal battle was over, but the scars it left behind were deep. Jessica's supervised visits were strained and uncomfortable, but I made sure the children remained respectful. They needed to understand that despite her mistakes, she was still their mother. In the months that followed, we settled into our new life. The children adjusted well to their new school, making friends and excelling in their studies. I focused on creating a nurturing home environment, filled with love and stability. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, Taylor looked up at me with wide eyes. "Dad, are we safe now?" I smiled, ruffling her hair. "Yes, sweetheart, we're safe. We're home." Oliver chimed in, his voice full of innocence. "And we'll always be together, right?" "Always," I promised, feeling a warmth spread through me. "We'll always be together." The battle had been long and arduous, but we had come out stronger. Jessica's betrayals had forged an unbreakable bond between me and the children. We were a family, and nothing could change that. As I tucked Taylor and Oliver into bed that night, I reflected on our journey. The pain, the anger, the revenge, it was all behind us now. Ahead lay a future filled with hope and love, a future we would build together, one step at a time. The legal battle had taken its toll on all of us, but with the custody issue resolved, it was time to focus on healing. Moving forward required not only physical relocation, but also emotional rebuilding. I wanted to create a sense of normalcy and security for Taylor and Oliver, something they desperately needed after the tumultuous events of the past year. I decided to start with something simple, yet meaningful: routine. Our mornings became predictable and comforting, with breakfast together and walks to school. Evenings were filled with homework, dinner, and bedtime stories. This structure provided a foundation of stability that helped the children feel safe and loved. One Saturday, I took Taylor and Oliver to a nearby park. As they played, I watched them with a mix of pride and relief. Their laughter was genuine, their smiles unforced. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. During one of our therapy sessions, the child psychologist suggested incorporating more bonding activities. "Try to create positive experiences together," she advised. "It will help reinforce your connection and provide a counterbalance to the negative memories." Taking her advice to heart, I planned a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains. The anticipation alone brought a sense of excitement. The drive was filled with music and singing, and the children's joy was contagious. When we arrived, the crisp mountain air and the stunning views were a welcome change from our daily routine. We spent the days hiking, exploring, and roasting marshmallows by the fire. One evening, as we sat around the campfire, Taylor turned to me, her eyes reflecting the dancing flames. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" she asked softly. I reached out and took her hand. "Yes, Taylor, we are. We're stronger than we think, and as long as we have each other, we'll be fine." Oliver snuggled closer to me, his head resting on my shoulder. "I like it here, Dad. Can we come back again?" "Of course, buddy. We can come back as often as you want," I replied, feeling a deep sense of contentment. The trip marked a turning point for us. It wasn't just about escaping the past, it was about embracing the future. The memories we created became a source of strength, reminding us of our resilience and love. Back home, I continued to seek ways to foster emotional healing. We started attending a family support group, where we met other families who had gone through similar experiences. Sharing our story and hearing theirs helped us realize that we weren't alone. The support and understanding from the group were invaluable, providing us with tools to navigate our new reality. One day, while cleaning out the attic, I found an old photo album. It was filled with pictures from happier times, before the betrayals and heartbreak. I hesitated, unsure whether to show it to the children. But then I realized that acknowledging the past was an important step in our healing process. That evening, I sat down with Taylor and Oliver and opened the album. We flipped through the pages together, reminiscing about the good times. There were photos of birthday parties, vacations, and everyday moments that had once brought us joy. "Look at this one, Dad," Oliver exclaimed, pointing to a picture of him covered in chocolate cake on his first birthday. Taylor giggled. "You were such a messy baby." We laughed together, and for the first time, the memories didn't sting as much. They were a part of our story, and while the ending of that chapter was painful, it didn't erase the happiness that had come before. As the weeks turned into months, I noticed a change in the children. They were more open and more trusting. Taylor started drawing again, filling her sketchbook with vibrant, hopeful images. Oliver joined a soccer team, and his confidence grew with each game. I, too, found solace in small joys. I took up woodworking, a hobby I'd always been interested in but never pursued. The act of creating something tangible with my hands was therapeutic, a way to channel my emotions into something constructive. One evening, as I was working on a new project in the garage, Taylor came in, holding a piece of paper. "Dad, I wrote something for you," she said shyly. I set down my tools and took the paper from her. It was a letter, written in her neat, careful handwriting. "Dear Dad, thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you for being strong and for loving us so much. I know it hasn't been easy, but you've made us feel safe and happy again. I love you, and I'm proud to be your daughter. Love, Taylor." Tears filled my eyes as I read her words. I pulled her into a hug, holding her tightly. "I love you too, Taylor, more than you'll ever know." As I tucked the children into bed that night, I felt a profound sense of peace. The road to healing was long and winding, but we were on it together. We had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, bound by love and resilience. Our journey was far from over, but for the first time, I was hopeful about the future. We were a family, and no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. The scars of the past will always be there, but they no longer define us. We had found our way back to each other, and that was all that mattered. With the shadows of the past gradually fading, our lives began to settle into a comforting rhythm. The emotional healing we had undergone was evident in our daily interactions, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. It was time to focus on building a future that was not just a reaction to our past, but a proactive step towards happiness. One of the first steps in this new beginning was finding a new home. The house we had lived in held too many memories, both good and bad. It was time for a fresh start in a place that was entirely our own. After weeks of searching, we found the perfect house, a charming, sunlit place with a big backyard and plenty of space for Taylor and Oliver to play. Moving day was a whirlwind of activity, but there was a palpable excitement in the air. As we unpacked boxes and arranged furniture, the children's laughter filled the house, turning it into a home. The first night, we camped out in the living room, surrounded by unpacked boxes, eating pizza and watching movies. It was a simple yet profound moment of joy, a symbol of our fresh start. The new neighborhood was welcoming, and we quickly integrated into the community. Taylor and Oliver made friends at school, and I joined a local woodworking group, finding camaraderie and shared interests. Our weekends were filled with barbecues, soccer games, and neighborhood gatherings. It was a stark contrast to the isolation and tension we had left behind. One sunny Saturday, our neighbors invited us to a block party. The street was lined with tables of food, and children ran around playing games. As I watched Taylor and Oliver laughing with their new friends, I felt a deep sense of contentment. We had found a place where we belonged. During the party, I struck up a conversation with a woman named Megan. She was friendly, with a warm smile and an easy laugh. We talked about our children, our jobs, and the challenges of single parenthood. There was an immediate connection, and we spent the rest of the afternoon together, enjoying each other's company. Over the next few weeks, Megan and I grew closer. We arranged playdates for our kids and found excuses to spend time together. She was a breath of fresh air, bringing joy and laughter back into my life. One evening after the children were asleep, we sat on my porch talking late into the night. "Megan, I haven't felt this happy in a long time," I admitted, looking into her eyes. "Me neither," she replied softly. "You and your kids have brought so much light into my life." Our relationship blossomed, and soon Megan became an integral part of our family. She was wonderful with Taylor and Oliver, and they quickly grew to love her. Her presence brought a balance and harmony that I had longed for, and for the first time, I allowed myself to dream about a future with her. As our bond deepened, we decided to take a trip together. We rented a cabin by a serene lake, a perfect getaway to solidify our new family dynamics. The days were filled with fishing, swimming, and exploring the woods. In the evenings, we sat by the fire, sharing stories and making s'mores. It was idyllic, a testament to the new life we were building. One evening, as the sun set over the lake, Megan and I sat on the porch, watching the children play by the water's edge. "John, I love you," she said, turning to face me. "I love you and your kids, and I want to be a part of your lives." "I love you too, Megan," I replied, feeling a surge of emotion. "You've brought us so much happiness. I can't imagine my life without you." Our relationship was a healing balm, mending the wounds of the past and opening the door to a future filled with love and possibilities. We began discussing the idea of blending our families, and the children were thrilled at the prospect. They adored Megan, and the thought of her becoming a permanent part of our lives brought them joy. As we returned home from the trip, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We were no longer defined by the betrayals and heartache of the past. We were moving forward, creating a new narrative built on trust, love, and resilience. Life continued to unfold in beautiful, unexpected ways. Taylor excelled in her art, winning a school competition and earning praise from her teachers. Oliver thrived in soccer, his confidence growing with each game. I found fulfillment in my woodworking, even starting a small business selling my creations online. Megan and I grew closer, our love deepening with each passing day. We faced challenges together, supporting each other through the ups and downs. The future we had once dreamed of was becoming a reality, filled with promise and happiness. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, Megan took my hand. "John, I've been thinking a lot about us, about our future," she said, her eyes reflecting the warm glow of the setting sun. "What's on your mind?" I asked, squeezing her hand gently. "I want us to be a family, officially," she said, a hopeful smile on her lips. "I want to marry you, John." Tears filled my eyes as I pulled her into a tight embrace. "I want that too, Megan, more than anything." The proposal was simple and heartfelt, a perfect reflection of our journey together. We began planning our wedding, involving the children in every step. It was a celebration of love, resilience, and new beginnings. On a beautiful spring day, surrounded by friends and family, Megan and I exchanged vows. Taylor and Oliver stood by our side, their faces beaming with happiness. As we said our I do's, I felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. We were a family, united by love and stronger than ever. The past has shaped us, but it did not define us. We had found our way through the darkness, emerging into the light of a new beginning. Together, we faced the future with hope, love, and the unshakable belief that we could overcome anything as long as we had each other. As our new life settled into a comfortable routine, I began to reflect on the people who had once been a significant part of my life. The betrayals had created a chasm between me and many old friends, but time had softened my anger and resentment. I realized that reconnecting with some of these friends could be an essential part of moving forward. One afternoon, I decided to reach out to Tom, my best friend from the old days. Despite his role in keeping Jessica's secret, he had been a significant part of my life for many years. I sent him a text, suggesting we meet for coffee. His response was immediate and positive, indicating that he too had been hoping for a chance to mend our friendship. We met at a small cafe in town. As I walked in, I saw Tom sitting at a corner table, looking nervous but hopeful. I approached him, and for a moment we just stood there, awkwardly assessing each other. "John, it's good to see you," Tom finally said, standing up to shake my hand. "It's good to see you too, Tom," I replied, taking a seat. "It's been a long time." We ordered our drinks and then sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. Finally, I broke the silence. "Tom, I want to understand why you didn't tell me about Jessica and Mark. I need to know why you chose to stay silent." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "John, there's no excuse for what I did. I thought I was protecting you, trying to avoid hurting you more, but I realize now that my silence was just as painful." I nodded, appreciating his honesty. "I've thought a lot about it, and I understand how complicated it must have been for you. But I need to rebuild trust. I need to know that if we're going to be friends again, there won't be any more secrets." Tom looked me in the eye, his expression earnest. "I promise, John. No more secrets. I've missed our friendship, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." We spent the next couple of hours reminiscing about old times, sharing stories and laughter. It felt good to reconnect, to rebuild the bridge that had been burned. By the end of our conversation, I felt a renewed sense of camaraderie and hope for our friendship. Encouraged by my meeting with Tom, I decided to reach out to Lisa next. She had been another close friend who had known about the affair. Her response to my invitation was similarly positive, and we arranged to meet for lunch. As we sat down to eat, Lisa's eyes were filled with regret. "John, I've been carrying so much guilt for not telling you about Jessica and Mark. I thought I was sparing you pain, but I realize now that I only made things worse." I nodded, taking a sip of my drink. "Lisa, I appreciate your honesty. What's done is done, and I'm willing to move past it if you are. I value our friendship, and I want to see if we can rebuild it." She smiled, relief evident on her face. "I'd like that, John. I've missed you and the kids. How are they doing?" I filled her in on our new life, the move, and how well Taylor and Oliver were adjusting. As we talked, the old familiarity and warmth between us began to resurface. By the end of lunch, we had made plans to get together with the kids, rekindling a friendship that had once been so important to both of us. Over the next few months, I continued to reconnect with other old friends, slowly rebuilding my social circle. Each meeting was a step towards healing, a reminder that despite the betrayals, there were still people who cared about me and my family. I found solace in these renewed connections, appreciating the support and camaraderie they brought. One weekend, I organized a barbecue at our new home, inviting both old friends and new neighbors. It was a chance to blend the past with the present, to celebrate the progress we had made. The backyard was filled with laughter and the smell of grilled food, the children running around playing games. As I stood by the grill, watching Taylor and Oliver play with their friends, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Megan came up beside me, wrapping her arm around my waist. "This is wonderful, John," she said, smiling up at me. "It is," I replied, kissing her forehead. "I couldn't have done it without you." The evening was a beautiful blend of old and new, a testament to the resilience and strength of our family and friendships. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over everyone, I realized that this was just the beginning of our new life. We had faced immense challenges, but we had emerged stronger and more united. Reconnecting with old friends had been a crucial step in our healing process. It had allowed me to forgive, to let go of past grievances, and to embrace the support and love that had always been there. With Megan by my side and our children thriving, I felt ready to face whatever the future held. Life was far from perfect, but it was ours to shape and mold. And as I looked around at the faces of those who had stood by us and those who had returned, I knew that we were not alone. We had a community, a family, and a future filled with promise. As our new life flourished and old friendships were rekindled, there remained a significant part of my past that I hadn't yet faced: Jessica. The court's decision had limited her interactions with Taylor and Oliver to supervised visits, and though I had taken steps to protect my children, the emotional scars of her betrayal lingered. It was time to confront Jessica directly and seek closure. I arranged a meeting with Jessica at a neutral location, a quiet park where we could talk without distractions. The day was sunny and warm, a stark contrast to the cold tension I felt inside. As I arrived, I saw her sitting on a bench, looking downcast and weary. "John," she said softly as I approached. Her voice was filled with regret and sorrow. "Thank you for meeting me." I nodded, taking a seat next to her but maintaining a cautious distance. "Jessica, we need to talk about everything, for the sake of our children and our peace of mind." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I know, John. I've made so many mistakes. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to understand how sorry I am." I took a deep breath, steadying my emotions. "Jessica, your actions shattered our family. You betrayed my trust, and it's something that can't be undone. But I need to understand why. Why did you do it?" She looked away, wiping her eyes. "It started as a way to fill a void. You were so busy with work, and I felt lonely and unappreciated. Mark was there, and it just happened. But it spiraled out of control, and I didn't know how to stop." "Why didn't you talk to me?" I asked, my voice cracking with the weight of unspoken pain. "Why didn't you give us a chance to fix things?" "I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid of losing you, afraid of facing the consequences. It was selfish and cowardly, and I regret it every day." We sat in silence for a while, the sounds of the park providing a backdrop to our heavy conversation. I thought about the impact of her actions on our children and the pain they had endured because of our broken marriage. Jessica, we need to find a way to move forward, I said finally. For Taylor and Oliver's sake. They deserve to have both parents in their lives, even if things aren't perfect between us. She nodded, her expression filled with determination. I want to be a better mother, John. I want to make amends, to be there for them in any way I can. I know it will take time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to work with you on this, I said, feeling a sense of resolution. We need to set clear boundaries and focus on what's best for the kids. They need to see that we can be civil and supportive, even if we're not together. Over the next few weeks, Jessica and I worked with a family therapist to create a co-parenting plan that prioritized the children's well-being. The sessions were difficult, but they allowed us to communicate openly and honestly, something we had failed to do during our marriage. Gradually, we established a routine for the supervised visits, and I made sure to be present during these times to provide stability for Taylor and Oliver. It wasn't easy, but seeing the children's happiness made it worthwhile. They needed their mother, and despite everything, Jessica was committed to being there for them. One afternoon, as we were wrapping up a visit, Taylor came up to me, holding a drawing she had made. Dad, look, it's a picture of all of us together. I looked at the drawing, touched by the simplicity and innocence of her vision. It depicted our family, standing side by side, smiling. It was a powerful reminder that despite the past, we could still create positive memories for our children. As time went on, Jessica's relationship with Taylor and Oliver began to improve. The children were more relaxed and happier, knowing that their parents were working together for their sake. Our interactions remained civil, and while the wounds of the past couldn't be erased, they began to heal. During one of our therapy sessions, Jessica turned to me with a sincere expression. John, I know I've caused you immense pain, and I can never undo that. But I want you to know that I'm truly sorry. I'm working on myself, and I hope that one day you can find it in your heart to forgive me. I nodded, feeling a sense of closure. Jessica, I appreciate your apology. Forgiveness is a process, and while I can't promise it will come easily, I'm willing to try, for the sake of our children and our peace. Our journey towards healing was far from over, but we had taken significant steps. Confronting Jessica and working towards a functional co-parenting relationship was essential for our children's happiness. It also allowed me to let go of some of the anger and resentment that had weighed me down. As we continued to navigate this new chapter, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The past will always be a part of our story, but it doesn't have to define our future. With Megan's support and the resilience of our family, we were building a life filled with love, understanding, and the promise of brighter days ahead. Life has a way of throwing curveballs just when you think things are finally settling down. Our new beginning was promising, but new challenges arose that tested our resilience and the strength of our family bond. One of the first challenges came with Taylor's transition to middle school. She had always been a sensitive and artistic child, but the move to a new, larger school environment was overwhelming for her. She struggled with making friends and keeping up with the increased academic demands. One evening, I found her in her room, tears streaming down her face as she looked at her homework. I can't do this, Dad. It's too hard, she cried. I sat down beside her, wrapping her in a comforting hug. Taylor, I know it's tough right now, but you're stronger than you think. Let's take it one step at a time, okay? We'll get through this together. We spent hours working through her assignments, and I arranged for a tutor to help her with the subjects she found most challenging. Slowly, Taylor's confidence began to grow, and she started to find her footing in the new school environment. Oliver faced his challenges on the soccer field. He was a talented player, but his new team was more competitive than what he was used to. During one particularly tough game, he missed a crucial goal, and his teammates were harsh in their criticism. After the game, Oliver was visibly upset. Dad, I let everyone down, he said, his voice shaky. I knelt to his level, looking him in the eye. Oliver, everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how you handle them. You've got to keep practicing and give it your best. That's all anyone can ask of you. Together, we practiced in the backyard, working on his skills and boosting his confidence. I also talked with his coach, who agreed to work on creating a more supportive team environment. Oliver's dedication paid off, and he began to excel, not just in his performance, but in his leadership on the field. As for Megan and me, we faced our own set of challenges as we navigated the complexities of blending our families. Megan had 2 children from her previous marriage, Jake and Emma, and while they got along well with Taylor and Oliver, there were inevitable conflicts and adjustments. One evening, Megan and I sat down to discuss our approach. "John, I think we need to establish some clear rules and routines for all the kids," she suggested. "They need consistency and structure to help them adjust." I agreed, and we implemented a family meeting night where everyone could voice their concerns and suggestions. We also established a set of household rules and routines that everyone contributed to. It wasn't always smooth sailing, but the open communication and structure helped us navigate the blending of our families. Megan's ex-husband also presented a challenge. He was initially resistant to the idea of his children spending so much time with me, but through respectful communication and demonstrating my commitment to their well-being, we were able to reach an understanding. It took time, but eventually, he saw that our blended family was working in the best interest of all the children involved. Professionally, I faced challenges in balancing my demanding job with my responsibilities at home. There were times when work required long hours, and I struggled with the guilt of not being as present as I wanted to be. Megan's support was invaluable during these times, and we worked together to ensure that the children's needs were always met. One particularly challenging period was when a major project at work required my full attention. I was spending long hours at the office, and the stress was taking its toll. Megan stepped up, managing the household and ensuring that the kids' routines were maintained. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, I came home to find a note from Megan on the kitchen counter. It read, "Dinner's in the oven. We're all rooting for you. Remember, you're not alone." Her words were a balm to my weary soul. I realized that I had been carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, but I didn't have to do it alone. Megan was my partner in every sense, and her unwavering support reminded me of the strength we had together. As the project concluded successfully, I made a conscious effort to find a better work-life balance. I learned to delegate more and prioritize my time, ensuring that I was present for my family when they needed me most. Through all these challenges, our family grew stronger. We learned to lean on each other, to communicate openly, and to support one another through thick and thin. Taylor and Oliver thrived in their new environment, and Megan's children, Jake and Emma, became integral parts of our family unit. One weekend, we planned a family camping trip, a chance to reconnect and unwind. As we sat around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories, I looked around at our blended family with a heart full of gratitude. "Dad, can we do this every year?" Oliver asked, his face glowing in the firelight. "Absolutely," I replied, smiling at Megan. "This is our new tradition." The challenges we faced had not been easy, but they had brought us closer together. We had built a life filled with love, resilience, and hope. Our family was a testament to the power of unity and the belief that no matter what challenges came our way, we could overcome them together. As the stars twinkled overhead and the fire crackled, I felt a profound sense of peace. We were on a journey, and while there would always be obstacles, we had the strength and the love to face them. Together, we were unstoppable, and the future was filled with endless possibilities. With the challenges of blending our families and finding balance behind us, life began to take on a new rhythm. But even as we settled into this new normal, the desire to forge new paths and pursue our passions grew stronger. For me, that meant taking a leap of faith in my career. One evening, after the kids were asleep, Megan and I sat on the porch, enjoying the quiet night. "John, I've noticed how passionate you are about your woodworking," she said, looking at me thoughtfully. "Have you ever thought about turning it into a full-time business?" I had considered it, but the idea seemed daunting. "I've thought about it, but it's a big risk. Leaving a stable job to start something new? It's scary." Megan took my hand, her eyes filled with encouragement. "I believe in you, John. You have a talent, and you love what you do. If anyone can make it work, it's you." Her words planted a seed of determination. Over the next few weeks, I researched the market, wrote a business plan, and assessed our finances. The more I delved into it, the more excited I became about the prospect of turning my passion into a career. Finally, I decided to take the plunge. I gave notice at my job, and with Megan's unwavering support, I launched my woodworking business. We converted our garage into a workshop, and I started building custom furniture and decorative pieces. The early days were filled with hard work and uncertainty, but the satisfaction of creating something with my hands and seeing customers appreciate my work was deeply rewarding. Megan and the kids pitched in, helping with everything from marketing to packaging orders. It became a family endeavor, and the business slowly began to grow. One of my first major projects was a custom dining table for a local restaurant. The owner, impressed by my craftsmanship, recommended me to other businesses and clients. Word of mouth spread, and soon I had more orders than I could handle. I hired a small team to help with production, and our garage workshop expanded into a rented studio space. As my business flourished, Megan also pursued her passion. She had always been interested in photography, and with my encouragement, she started taking on more freelance work. Her talent for capturing moments and emotions quickly gained her a following, and soon she was booked for weddings, events, and portrait sessions. Our children, inspired by our pursuits, began exploring their interests. Taylor continued to excel in her art, participating in local exhibitions, and even selling some of her pieces. Oliver, fueled by his love for soccer, joined an advanced training program and started dreaming of a future in professional sports. One evening, after a long day at the studio, I came home to find Taylor and Oliver working on a project together. They had decided to create a mural on one of the walls in our house, a collaboration that combined Taylor's artistic skills and Oliver's creativity. "Dad, we want this mural to represent our family," Taylor explained, her eyes shining with excitement. "It's a story of how we've grown and come together." As I watched them work, I felt a surge of pride and happiness. Our journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also brought us closer and made us stronger. We had found our passions and were forging new paths, both individually and as a family. One weekend, we organized an open house at my studio, inviting friends, neighbors, and clients to see our work. Megan displayed her photography, Taylor exhibited her art, and I showcased my woodworking pieces. The event was a huge success, and it felt like a celebration of our hard work and creativity. During the event, Tom and Lisa, along with other old friends, came to show their support. It was heartwarming to see how our friendships had been mended and strengthened over time. We had all grown and evolved, but the bonds that connected us remained strong. As the evening drew to a close, I stood with Megan, Taylor, and Oliver, looking around at the studio filled with people admiring our work. "We've come a long way," I said, wrapping my arm around Megan, "and I'm excited for what's next." "We've built something amazing together," Megan replied, smiling. "This is just the beginning." Our journey was far from over, but we were on a path filled with promise and potential. We had faced our fears, taken risks, and embraced our passions. The future was bright, and we were ready to face it with determination and hope. As we packed up after the open house, I looked at my family with a heart full of gratitude. We had forged new paths and found our place in the world. Together, we were unstoppable, and I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them with strength, love, and unity. The mural on our wall, a beautiful tapestry of our journey, was a constant reminder of how far we had come. It depicted a tree with deep roots and strong branches, symbolizing our family's growth and resilience. At the center of the tree, Taylor had painted a heart, representing the love that bound us together. Life was an ever-evolving adventure, and we were ready to embrace every moment of it. Our past had shaped us, but our future was ours to create. And with each new day, we continued to forge new paths, together. As our lives continued to flourish with new ventures and creative pursuits, the importance of deepening our connections became increasingly evident. It wasn't just about building a successful business or nurturing our passions, it was also about strengthening the bonds within our family and with those around us. One evening, Megan and I were sitting on the porch, reflecting on how far we had come. "John, we've built so much together, but I feel like we need to make sure we're also nurturing our relationships with the kids and each other," she said thoughtfully. I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "You're right, Megan. We've been so focused on everything else, but we need to ensure we're making time for our family and us. We decided to start a new tradition, family nights every Friday. These nights would be dedicated to spending quality time together, free from distractions. Whether it was playing games, watching movies, or cooking a special meal, the goal was to connect and enjoy each other's company. The first family night was a huge success. We made homemade pizzas, with each of us choosing our favorite toppings, and then settled in for a movie marathon. Taylor and Oliver loved the idea, and it quickly became something they looked forward to every week. As the weeks went by, our family nights became more creative and adventurous. We had themed nights, like a Hawaiian luau complete with decorations and tropical smoothies, and a travel around the world night, where we cooked dishes from different countries. Each night was a new opportunity to bond and create lasting memories. One particularly memorable family night was when we decided to have a talent show. Each of us prepared a performance, and the living room became our stage. Taylor showcased her latest art project, explaining the inspiration behind it. Oliver demonstrated his soccer skills with some impressive tricks. Megan wowed us with her photography slideshow, capturing the beauty of our everyday moments. And I shared a new woodworking piece, a beautifully crafted rocking chair, which I had dedicated to our family. As we cheered each other on, I realized how much these moments meant. They were a reminder of why we worked so hard and what truly mattered. The laughter, the shared experiences, and the support we gave each other strengthened our bond in ways that nothing else could. In addition to our family nights, Megan and I made a conscious effort to carve out time for just the two of us. We scheduled regular date nights, exploring new restaurants, going for long walks, and simply enjoying each other's company. These moments were crucial in maintaining the intimacy and connection in our relationship. One evening during a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant, Megan looked at me with a serious expression. "John, I've been thinking a lot about our future. We've built so much together, but I want to make sure we're always growing, always deepening our connection." I reached across the table, taking her hand. "I feel the same way, Megan. We've come a long way, but there's always room to grow. I want to make sure we're always making time for each other and our family." We made a pact that night to always prioritize our relationship, to never let the busyness of life overshadow the love we shared. It was a commitment to each other and to our family, a promise to keep growing and nurturing our connections. As our business and creative ventures continued to thrive, we also focused on giving back to the community. We started hosting workshops and classes at my woodworking studio and Megan's photography space, sharing our skills and passions with others. It was incredibly rewarding to see people from all walks of life come together, learn, and create. One day, Taylor came to me with an idea. "Dad, what if we organize an art fair? We can invite local artists, showcase their work, and raise money for charity." I was impressed by her initiative and enthusiasm. "That's a fantastic idea, Taylor. Let's do it." The entire family got involved in planning the event. Taylor reached out to local artists, Megan handled the promotion and photography, and Oliver helped with logistics. The art fair was a huge success, drawing a large crowd and raising funds for a local children's charity. It was a proud moment for all of us, and it reinforced the importance of community and connection. Through these efforts, we not only deepened our relationships within our family, but also forged new connections with those around us. Our home became a hub of creativity and support, a place where people felt welcome and inspired. As I looked around at the vibrant life we had built, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. We faced immense challenges and came out stronger. Our journey was one of resilience, love, and growth. And as we continued to deepen our connections, both within our family and with our community, I knew that we were creating a legacy of love and togetherness that would last for generations. Life was an ever-evolving adventure, and with each step we took, we became more united and more connected. Together, we were unstoppable, and the future was filled with endless possibilities. As time passed and our family continued to grow stronger, we reached a significant milestone that called for a grand celebration, our wedding anniversary. It had been a year since Megan and I exchanged vows, blending our lives and families into one. This milestone was not just about us as a couple, it was about celebrating the unity, love, and resilience that defined our journey together. We decided to host a celebration that included our closest friends, family, and the community that had supported us throughout our journey. It was a chance to reflect on the past, appreciate the present, and look forward to the future. Planning the anniversary celebration became a family affair. Taylor and Oliver were excited to help with the preparations, and Megan and I were determined to make it a memorable event. We chose a beautiful outdoor venue near the lake, surrounded by lush gardens and a picturesque view. One afternoon, as we sat around the kitchen table discussing the details, Taylor suggested, "How about we create a memory wall? We can display photos and mementos from our journey together." "That's a wonderful idea, Taylor," Megan said, smiling. "It will be a beautiful way to showcase our memories and celebrate how far we've come." The weeks leading up to the celebration were filled with planning and excitement. We sorted through old photos, selecting the ones that captured our most cherished moments. Megan used her photography skills to create stunning displays, while Oliver and I built wooden frames to showcase the pictures. On the day of the celebration, the venue was transformed into a magical setting. Twinkling fairy lights hung from the trees, and tables were adorned with flowers and candles. The memory wall stood proudly at the center, a testament to our journey and the love that had guided us through every challenge. As guests began to arrive, I felt a sense of pride and gratitude. Friends and family gathered, their smiles and laughter filling the air. Tom and Lisa, along with other old friends, were there to share in our joy. Even Jessica, who had become a better co-parent and friend, was there with her new partner, showing how far we had all come in our healing journeys. The evening started with a heartfelt speech from Megan. She stood before our friends and family, her eyes shining with emotion. "This celebration is not just about John and me. It's about all of us, our children, our friends, our family, and our community. We've built something beautiful together, and I'm grateful for every one of you." As she spoke, I felt overwhelmed with love and appreciation. I took the microphone next, my voice steady but filled with emotion. "Megan, you have been my rock, my partner, and my best friend. Together we've faced challenges and created a life filled with love and joy. To our children, Taylor, Oliver, Jake, and Emma, you are the heart of our family. And to our friends and family, thank you for your unwavering support. This celebration is for all of us." The applause and cheers were a reminder of the strong network of love and support that surrounded us. As the night continued, we danced under the stars, shared stories, and created new memories. The children played together, their laughter a beautiful soundtrack to the evening. One of the highlights of the night was a surprise performance from Taylor and Oliver. They had prepared a song that they had written together, capturing the essence of our family's journey. As they sang, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Their voices, filled with emotion and pride, resonated deeply with everyone present. After their performance, Megan and I took the stage for our first dance as a married couple. As we swayed to the music, I whispered to her, "I love you, Megan. Thank you for being my partner in this incredible journey." "I love you too, John," she replied, her eyes reflecting the happiness and love that filled my heart. This is just the beginning of our beautiful story. The night was filled with joy, laughter, and love. It was a celebration of our past, present, and future, a testament to the resilience and unity that defined our family. As the evening drew to a close, we gathered around the memory wall, reflecting on the moments that had brought us here. I looked around at the faces of our friends and family, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. We had come a long way, and our journey was far from over. The love and support that surrounded us gave me the strength to face whatever the future held. As the last guest departed and the night grew quiet, Megan and I stood hand in hand, looking out at the serene lake. "We've built something incredible together," I said softly, "and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us and our family." "Me too, John," Megan replied, leaning into me. "With love, anything is possible." Our anniversary celebration was a milestone that marked the beginning of a new chapter. It was a reminder of the power of love, resilience, and unity. Together we overcame challenges, built a beautiful life, and created a legacy of love that would last for generations. As we walked back to our home, hand in hand, I felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. We were ready to face the future with hope, love, and the unwavering belief that together we could achieve anything. Our journey was just beginning, and the possibilities were endless. The anniversary celebration had left us all on a high, feeling connected and ready for whatever the future held. However, life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges, and soon we found ourselves at another crossroads. One crisp autumn morning, I received a phone call that would once again shift the direction of our lives. It was from a major home decor retailer that had come across my woodworking business through a mutual connection. They were interested in collaborating on a new line of custom furniture and wanted to discuss the details in person. Excitement surged through me, but with it came a wave of uncertainty. This was a massive opportunity that could significantly grow my business, but it would also require more time and energy and possibly relocating to a new city. That evening, I sat down with Megan to discuss the offer. "Megan, this could be huge for us," I said, showing her the email from the retailer. "But it also means we might have to move and make some big adjustments." She read through the email, a thoughtful expression on her face. "John, this is an incredible opportunity. I believe in you and your work. We've faced so many challenges and come out stronger. If this is the next step, then we'll find a way to make it work." Her unwavering support filled me with confidence, but I knew we needed to involve the kids in this decision. The next evening, we gathered Taylor, Oliver, Jake, and Emma for a family meeting. "We have some exciting news," I began, explaining the potential collaboration and what it might mean for our family. "But it also means we might need to move to a new city. We wanted to hear your thoughts and feelings about this." The room was silent for a moment as the kids processed the information. Taylor spoke first, her voice steady but filled with concern. "I love it here, but I understand how important this is for you, Dad. I'm willing to give it a try." Oliver nodded in agreement. "Yeah, Dad, we can make new friends and it sounds like a cool adventure." Jake and Emma were more hesitant, but after discussing it further and addressing their concerns, they too agreed to give it a chance. The decision was made, and with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, we began preparing for the move. The weeks leading up to the relocation were a whirlwind of activity. We packed up our belongings, said goodbye to friends and neighbors, and prepared ourselves for the new adventure. Megan and I worked tirelessly to ensure the transition would be as smooth as possible for the kids. The day of the move was bittersweet. Our old home, filled with so many memories, stood empty as we loaded the last of our boxes into the moving truck. Taylor and Oliver took one last look at their rooms, and I could see the mixture of sadness and excitement in their eyes. As we drove towards our new city, I felt a sense of anticipation. This was a new beginning, an opportunity to grow and create new memories. The city welcomed us with its vibrant energy and endless possibilities. Our new home was a spacious house with plenty of room for everyone. The kids explored their new surroundings with curiosity, and Megan and I began setting up our new life. My studio was transformed into a professional workspace, ready to handle the demands of the collaboration. The first few weeks were challenging as we adjusted to the new environment. The kids started at their new schools, and while there were initial difficulties, they quickly adapted and made new friends. Megan found a local photography community and started building her network, capturing the beauty of our new city through her lens. One evening, after a particularly long day at the studio, I came home to find the family gathered in the living room. Taylor had set up a movie night, complete with popcorn and cozy blankets. As we settled in to watch, I felt a deep sense of contentment. Despite the challenges and changes, we were together, supporting each other every step of the way. The collaboration with the retailer exceeded my expectations. My custom furniture line was well received, and orders started pouring in. The success of the business allowed us to explore new opportunities and invest in our future. Megan's photography flourished as well, with her work being featured in local galleries and publications. As the months passed, our new city began to feel like home. We celebrated birthdays, holidays, and milestones, creating new traditions and memories. The kids thrived in their new environment, excelling in their studies and extracurricular activities. Taylor continued to shine in her art, participating in local exhibitions and winning awards. Oliver's soccer skills earned him a spot on a competitive team, where he made lifelong friends. One weekend, we decided to take a family trip to the mountains, a beautiful escape just a few hours from the city. As we hiked through the scenic trails, the kids laughed and explored, their joy infectious. At the top of the mountain, we sat together, taking in the breathtaking view. "This is amazing," Oliver said, his eyes wide with wonder. "It is," Taylor agreed. I'm glad we moved here. Megan and I shared a knowing smile. The move had been a leap of faith, but it had brought us closer and opened up new possibilities. We had embraced change and found strength in each other. As we made our way back down the mountain, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Life was an ever-evolving journey, filled with unexpected twists and turns. But with love, resilience, and the support of family, we embraced every challenge and came out stronger. Our new city had become a place of growth and opportunity, a testament to the power of embracing change. Together, we built a life filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities. And as we looked towards the future, I knew that we were ready to face whatever came our way, united and unstoppable. Life had a way of surprising us just when we thought we had everything figured out. Our new city felt like home, our businesses were thriving, and our family bonds were stronger than ever. But an unexpected visitor brought a wave of memories and unresolved feelings back into our lives. It was a quiet Saturday morning when the doorbell rang. I was in the workshop putting the finishing touches on a custom bookshelf, while Megan and the kids were upstairs. I wiped my hands on a rag and went to answer the door. Standing there, looking both familiar and out of place, was Mark. My former best friend, the man who had been at the center of the betrayal that tore my life apart years ago. He looked older and more worn, but there was a sincerity in his eyes that took me by surprise. "John," he said, his voice tentative, "can we talk?" I felt a rush of emotions, anger, hurt, confusion. But there was also a part of me that had longed for closure. I nodded slowly and stepped aside to let him in. We sat in the living room, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words. Megan, sensing the tension, took the kids out for a walk to give us some privacy. "Why are you here, Mark?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He sighed, looking down at his hands. "I've thought about this moment for years. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I needed to see you, to apologize properly. What I did was unforgivable, and I've lived with that guilt every day." There was a raw honesty in his words that I hadn't expected. "You destroyed our friendship, Mark. You and Jessica. You took everything from me." "I know," he said, his voice breaking, "and I'm truly sorry. After everything fell apart, I lost myself. I've spent the past few years trying to make amends, to become a better person. I wanted to come back and tell you that." I took a deep breath, the weight of the past pressing down on me. "Why now? Why after all this time?" "Because I've finally found the courage to face what I did," he replied. "I know it's too late to fix things, but I needed to own up to my mistakes. I'm in town for a few days, and I hoped we could talk, even if it's just to get closure." I nodded, feeling a mixture of anger and empathy. "Closure," I repeated, the word hanging in the air. "All right, Mark, let's talk." Over the next hour, we revisited the past, the betrayal, and the aftermath. Mark didn't make excuses. He acknowledged his mistakes and the pain he had caused. It was cathartic in a way to finally have an open and honest conversation about everything. As we talked, I realized that holding on to the anger had been a burden. While forgiveness wasn't immediate or easy, acknowledging the pain and letting go of the resentment was a step toward healing. When Megan and the kids returned, I introduced Mark. The children were curious but respectful, sensing the gravity of the situation. Megan, always the peacemaker, welcomed him with grace, understanding the importance of this moment for me. Before he left, Mark turned to me. "John, thank you for giving me a chance to apologize. I hope you find peace, and I wish you and your family all the best." I nodded, feeling a sense of closure. "Take care, Mark." As the door closed behind him, Megan came over and wrapped her arms around me. "How do you feel?" she asked softly. "Lighter," I admitted. "It was something I needed to do, for myself, for us." We spent the rest of the day together, talking and reflecting on the journey we had been on. That evening, as we sat around the dinner table, I felt a renewed sense of peace. The past will always be a part of our story, but it doesn't have to define our future. In the weeks that followed, I noticed a change in myself. The weight of the past had lifted, making room for more love and positivity in my life. My relationships with Megan, the kids, and even our friends grew stronger as I embraced this newfound freedom. One afternoon, while working in the studio, Taylor came in, holding a sketchbook. Dad, I've been working on something. Can I show you? Of course, sweetheart, I said, setting aside my tools. She opened the sketchbook to reveal a series of drawings that depicted our family's journey. From the dark days of betrayal to the bright moments of new beginnings, her art captured the essence of our resilience and love. These are amazing, Taylor, I said, genuinely moved. You've captured our story beautifully. She smiled, her eyes shining with pride. I wanted to show how far we've come and how strong we are together. Her words resonated deeply with me. We had faced so many challenges, but each one brought us closer and made us stronger. As I looked at her drawings, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the life we had built. Later that evening, as we gathered for our family night, I shared Taylor's drawings with everyone. The kids were excited, and Megan's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the artwork. We've been through a lot, I said, my voice filled with emotion. But we've come out stronger because we've faced everything together. I'm so proud of all of us. As we settled in for a movie, I felt a deep sense of contentment. Our journey had been filled with ups and downs, but through it all, we had remained united. The unexpected return of Mark had brought closure and healing, allowing us to fully embrace the future with open hearts. Life was an ever-evolving adventure, and with each new challenge, we grew closer and more resilient. Together, we were unstoppable, and I knew that whatever came next, we would face it as a family, with love and strength guiding our way.